Welcome to BRAINELM Labs channel. Here our goal is to make you better aware of personal finance and other money and finance related topics. Let's talk about a question that quietly nags at so many of us. Why is it that earning more money often doesn't actually lead to lasting happiness? In this explainer, we're going to dive deep into the psychology of enough, and we're going to uncover why that finish line for financial satisfaction always seems to be moving. This quote just perfectly captures the heart of the problem, doesn't it? If you don't have a personal, concrete definition of what enough really means to you, you're essentially running on a financial treadmill that has no off switch. It's this exhausting race you can never, ever win because you're running against yourself. Now, if this feeling is familiar to you, it's so important to know this isn't some kind of personal failing or a lack of discipline. Nope. It's a really well-documented psychological phenomenon. You work hard, you hit your income goals, but that feeling of making it is surprisingly temporary. You might find you're still worried about money, just with bigger numbers attached. It's a strange and frustrating feeling, isn't it? You finally reach a financial milestone you've been working towards for so long, and for a moment, it feels fantastic. But then, almost overnight, the goalposts just shift. That more you were chasing is now even further away. If this sounds familiar, believe me, you are in very good company. So the reason this happens, it really boils down to two core psychological traps that are incredibly easy for all of us to fall into. So let's break each one down so you can see exactly how they work, and more importantly, how you can start to avoid them. The first trap is something called lifestyle creep, and it's a very, very subtle process. As your income goes up, your standard of living slowly, and often without you even noticing, rises right along with it. The small luxuries become daily habits, and the financial gains you've worked so hard for are just quietly erased. All right, let's look at a simple, real-world scenario to see this in action. This is Sarah. She's a really hard worker who recently earned a well-deserved promotion and a pretty significant pay raise, and she was, of course, thrilled. So, after taxes, Sarah's annual income increased by a solid $10,000. Now, that's a substantial amount of money that really could have dramatically improved her financial position, boosting her savings, her investments, or paying down debt. But then, lifestyle creep kicked in. She saw a colleague's new car and decided to upgrade to a newer model with a higher payment. She started buying that premium coffee every single morning, not just as a Friday treat. She added a few more streaming services. See, none of these felt like huge expenses on their own, but when you put them all together, they expanded to consume her entire raise. So a year later, despite earning significantly more money, Sarah found herself in the exact same financial position she was in before. Sure, her life was a bit more comfortable, but she wasn't building any more wealth or any more security. She was still on the treadmill, just running at a faster and way more expensive pace. But it's not just our spending habits that keep us running. There's an even deeper psychological force at play. It's called the hedonic treadmill. Just think of this as your brain's built-in happiness thermostat. It's always working to bring you back to your baseline level of contentment, no matter what happens in your life. When you get that raise or a big bonus, there is a genuine, real spike in your happiness. The feeling is fantastic. You feel successful, secure, and really excited. But the key to understanding the hedonic treadmill is knowing that this spike is, by its very nature, temporary. So here's how it works. First, your income rises. Second, your happiness spikes in response. But third, and this is the really crucial part, your mind adapts. This new, higher income, it just becomes your new normal. And over time, your happiness level drifts right back down to its original baseline, leaving you searching for the next hit to feel that spike again. So if lifestyle creep and the hedonic treadmill are constantly working against us, how do we get off this endless hamster wheel? Well, the answer isn't necessarily to earn more. It's to change the game entirely by consciously defining your own finish line. It's about deciding what enough looks like for you. This metaphor is just a perfect way to think about it. In nature, growth has a purpose and a natural limit. A tree doesn't strive for infinite, endless growth. It grows to a point of strength and sustainability, and then it thrives right where it is. We can apply that same wisdom to our own finances. This is a really fundamental shift in perspective. The goal is no longer this endless, exhausting chase for more. Instead, the goal becomes reaching a specific, personally meaningful destination. True financial power comes from knowing exactly when you can say, you know what, this is enough for me to live a truly great life. So, how do you actually do this? It's a simple three-step process. First, calculate what you truly need: your housing, food, transportation, the basics. Second, define what genuine comfort means to you, not what society or your social media feed says it should be. This includes things like hobbies, travel, or giving back that bring you real joy. And third, combine those to set a specific, tangible financial goal. That number, that's your enough. Okay, let's boil all of this down to one simple, powerful action you can take this week to start reclaiming your financial peace of mind. Your task is super simple. Sometime this week, sit down and just write down a single number. This could be a target net worth, an annual income, or a monthly passive income from investments that would truly be enough for you. Don't overthink it. Just write down the number that feels right in your gut.
And what's really important to remember is this: defining enough is not about limiting your potential or capping your ambition. It's about giving yourself a gift, the freedom to consciously step off the treadmill. It's a declaration that your life will be defined by your own values, not by an endless pursuit of more.
Thanks so much for joining us for this explainer. We really hope it's given you a new framework for thinking about your relationship with money and a clear path toward finding your own version of enough.